Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Life Lessons with Law. My name is Loretta, and on this space we have authentic, open, heart-to-heart conversations on love, life, faith, womanhood, and pretty much everything in between. If this is your first time of joining or listening to the podcast, you are most welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you're a returning listener or returning subscriber, thank you. You're practically family. Okay, so today I'm just going to be sharing about gratitude, and I'm going to talk about how to develop an attitude of gratitude. It's just essentially how can we become more grateful in our lives, or how can we express more gratitude in our lives. And just to give you some context around why I thought to share on this today is so you know how we do personality tests. So if you've done a personality test before, so you know that it's just a bunch of questions that you answer, and then you get the results based on your responses to those questions. So I took a personality test at work, but this time around it was not really a personality test. It was more like a strength test. So it was just to measure our top strengths and also our weaknesses. So I took this test, and based on the questions, I just answered the questions randomly, as honestly as I possibly could. And I was thinking, because it was a work thing, I was expecting that, okay, maybe my strengths would be maybe teamwork, collaboration, project management, mental agility, those kind of things that you expect should be your strengths, because it's work. But yeah, anyway, I took the test, and my top strengths were love of learning, gratitude, fairness, and I think the fifth one was humility. Those were my top strengths according to that test that I did. And I found first of all, I was like, love, am I in the wrong line of work? But anyway, and it was interesting to see gratitude as a third. And I was just reflecting on it a few days ago, and I thought, okay, maybe I should just share about gratitude, because now that I think back, I wasn't always a grateful person. At least a few years ago, I wouldn't say I've always been this person who's just full of gratitude and just beaming with, just constantly expressing gratitude and is always grateful. Not like I was an ingrate though, but I just wasn't. I don't think I was the person who was constantly in this space of gratitude. But I do know that I have grown over the years, and I think that strength test was right. My level of gratitude has grown over the years. So I shared that because I just wanted to talk about how can we develop an attitude of gratitude. Again, like I always say, I don't come to you as an expert. I don't come to you as someone who knows it all or who has it all figured out, because I don't. I don't. I'm just learning and growing in this journey called life. And this space, this podcast, is just a place where I share some of the things that I am learning. So don't think that everything that I'm going to share here I have mastered. I'm still growing. I'm imperfect. I fall, I rise, I fall, I rise. I face challenges, I overcome them. Sometimes I tackle these challenges well, and sometimes I tackle them quite abysmally. So anyway, what I'm just saying is I'm not an expert, right? But these are just some of the things that I am learning as I learn to grow in gratitude, as I learn to continue to cultivate an attitude of gratitude. So, what is gratitude? And I did not look up a definition, to be honest. But I think if I were to explain it based on how I understand it, gratitude is just a genuine appreciation of your journey, a genuine appreciation of your life. It's just finding things around you and saying, I choose to appreciate this. So why is it important for us to have an attitude of gratitude? I feel it's important for us to have an attitude of gratitude because life can just, if we don't have an attitude of gratitude, life can just make things seem just all blue and gloom. If we don't take time to show appreciation for the good things in our lives, even though things are not perfect, if we do not take out the time to show appreciation for the good things in our lives, we can miss out on those moments, right? If we don't take time to appreciate the good things in our lives, we can fall into the trap of thinking that it's all bad, right? And whatever you focus on, you would magnify, and whatever you magnify will multiply. As I've come to learn about life. So if you continue to magnify the bad situation in your life or the horrible situation in your life, you could multiply it. So choosing to sit back sometimes and just appreciate, and just really shifting your focus a little bit, to shifting your focus from what's not working to what is working, it makes you feel a lot better. It makes you feel better, but then it also tends to de-escalate the problem, if that's the right word. But it makes the problem look a lot less problematic. And it makes you see that this problem is not actually as insurmountable as I thought it was. So yeah, this is what I think. This is why I think it's important for us to be grateful and just choosing to have more gratitude in our lives, apart from the physical benefits that it provides for you. Because of course, when you start expressing gratitude, you feel like it makes you feel lighter, and it takes you, it takes that pressure off you and makes you less worried and makes you less anxious, right? Anyway, so and now let's talk about, now that we've established what gratitude is, and we've looked at why it's important for us to grow and develop an attitude of gratitude, let's now look at the how. How do we create more gratitude in our lives? What are the things that we need to do? I'm just going to be sharing a few things with you about what I'm learning and how I've been able, or how I am learning to develop more gratitude in my life. So the first thing is to choose to see the good. Choose to see something to be grateful for. And I'm just looking at my notes in case you're wondering where I'm looking. But choose to see the good. Choose to see something to be grateful for. I think the mistake a lot of people make is that they feel like the emotion you feel is the only emotion you could possibly feel. And that's a lie from the devil, because you actually can't choose. There's this verse in the Bible that I absolutely love. It's in Deuteronomy, and it says that I call heaven, I'm just paraphrasing, I call heaven to bear record before me today, that I have set before you life and death, the blessing and the curse. But it doesn't stop there. And that's the beautiful thing. That's the part that blows my mind. It doesn't stop there. God doesn't just say, yeah, I'm setting before you life and death. These are the choices that you have. And then, yeah, do whatever you want, right? But then it goes ahead to say, choose life so that you and your descendants, you and your children can live, And it's so beautiful because it means that God doesn't just leave us and say, yeah, this is good, this is bad, and he vanishes. No, he also tells us what is the best thing to do. He also tells us what is the best thing to do in that situation. He says, choose life. That means that you have a choice. You can choose. You can choose gratitude. You can choose to see the good, even when it looks like there is no good around you. You can choose to look around you and say, I am grateful that even if things are not perfect, God is perfect, right? And I love the way Joyce Meyer says it. She says, I may not be where I want to be, but thank God I'm not where I used to be. So even if things are not going according to plan, there is something to be grateful for. If you look around you, there is something to be grateful for. The very fact that you are breathing, it's a miracle. The fact that you can take in air and expel it through your lungs and then, breathe in and out, that's fascinating. That's beautiful. That's astounding. That is something to be grateful for. So you can always look around you and find at least one thing to be grateful for. So yeah, that's the first thing. Choose life, choose gratitude, that you have the power. It's in your hands. You can actually literally choose to say, I choose to be grateful. I choose to say thank you for how far I have come. I choose to show appreciation for the things that are working. I choose to not be so focused on the things that are not working, but be grateful for the things that actually are. So yeah, choose to see the good. The second way that you can develop an attitude of gratitude is to remember what you used, where you used to be. If we look back in our lives, I'm sure that we would find that, oh, I used to pray for this before, but look where I am now. I think that sometimes we tend to, because we go really quick, because a lot of times we are on to the next thing. So it's very easy for us to get into stuff and then pray about, I want to get this, I want to achieve this. And then you achieve that, you're thinking of the next thing. It's very easy for us to slip into that forgetfulness, right? It's very easy for us to just keep going. But it takes, again, choice to be able to step back and say, oh, wait, hold on. There was a time in my life when this was a prayer point. There was a time in my life when I could not afford certain things. But now look at me, I'm living in that prayer point, right? So say, maybe example, there was a time in your life when you could not afford to buy a certain kind of brand of shoes, but now you can, and maybe now you have like several pairs of that shoe and you don't think about it, but somehow at the back of your mind, of course, women, you're like, oh, I don't have enough shoes. But remember, there was a time when that shoe was the dream. But look at where you are now. Look at what you've accomplished. Look at how far you have come. That's something to be grateful for. And I think about it and I cast my mind back to where I was a few years ago, and there was a time in my life where I couldn't afford to buy a new pair of shoes because I was broke. I just couldn't afford it, But now that I'm at this point, doesn't mean that I'm super rich and I can just walk into a store and buy all the shoes in the store. No, I can't do that. I can't afford to do that. But I'm grateful because now I can actually afford to buy myself a pair of shoes, right? So it's, to me, every time I think about it, I'm just so grateful to God. And I also remember there was a time that there was a time I could not afford to live in a house with a shower, right? And it was like I was looking forward to the time when I'll be able to live in a house that actually has a shower. And I remember when I moved to the my first house with a shower, and I took my shower with the shower. I remember just saying, "Oh God, I'm so grateful that I can actually afford a house with a shower." Right? But yeah, like those little things, that's how you develop an attitude of gratitude. It doesn't mean that things don't have to be perfect for you to have to find something to be grateful for. You don't have to wait until all your prayers are answered. If you look around you, there are things that God has done for you that you even didn't pray for. You didn't pray for it. So, and if you look back, if you think back, if you really think back, I'm so sure you can count more than 10 things that God has done for you, things that God has brought you through, situations in your life that God has saved you. Many times we don't even know how much God has saved us. We don't know the kind of shackles that He has broken off of us. We don't know the kind of situations that He has saved us from, how He has snatched us back from the hands of the enemy. We don't know these things. So there's so many things, both seen and unseen, to be grateful for. So yeah, remember where you're coming from. Remember where God brought you from. Remember where God brought you out of. Never forget it. Never forget who you used to be before God found you and changed your life. And even if you feel like, oh, I don't think God has found me, I don't think He has done anything for me, are you sure? Sit down and count. Yeah, so next to the next thing, the other thing leads to my next point. Count your blessings. I love the song that says, count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God has done. Count your blessings, name them one by one. It will surprise you what God has done. Look, please count your blessings. I think about what it means to count your blessings, and it's just, again, just reflecting and making a choice to see. Open your eyes and see. In fact, the fact that you can see, the fact that your senses work, the fact that you can actually observe what is going on around you is a blessing. The fact that you can hear the birds, chirping, the fact that you can feel the sun on your skin, that's a blessing. The fact that you can move, you can talk, you can walk, you can just count your blessings. Look around you. If you've got children, the fact that God has blessed you with children, the fact that God has blessed you with a spouse that loves you, it might not be perfect, but count your blessings. Count your blessings. And I feel like for me, this is something that I try to do every day. It's a way of rewiring my brain to see the good, rewiring my brain to see the blessing. And so sometimes when I'm tempted to complain, I remember that, okay, I think okay, yeah, but I'm grateful still. For example, if maybe my partner does something that I'm not too happy with, rather than going off and making an issue out of it, I count my blessings and I say, well, I'm grateful. I'm grateful. And I choose to see the good rather than magnify the bad. So please count your blessings. It will surprise you what God has done. The other thing is to focus on others. And this is one thing that I'm also learning in my life. One way to develop an attitude of gratitude is to take the focus off yourself sometimes. Because sometimes we can be so swallowed up in our own world that we feel like, oh, everyone is nobody else matters. It's just us, it's just our problems, it's just the things that we're going through, and that's valid. You're it's you're allowed to go through what you're going through, but then sometimes just take the focus off yourself and just look at other people and be grateful for their lives. It helps you to also see what God is doing in the lives of others. And when you acknowledge what God is doing in the lives of others, what God is doing in the lives of the people that you love and the people that care about you and the people around you, what you do is tell yourself that that means God is still in the business of doing this and he's going to come through for me as well. If God came through for this person, he's also going to come through for me. Besides the fact that it also helps your heart and protects your heart against envy, right? So being grateful for what God is doing in the lives of others is going to help you to, feel better and know that God is faithful and he will come through for you. Next thing is that remember that life is full of challenges and this too will pass. It's not permanent. So when you think about whatever it is that you're going through, think about your problems, remember that it is not permanent. This too will pass. And so because I know that this too will pass, I choose to be grateful. I choose to be grateful that I'm not walking this path alone. I choose to be grateful about the fact that God is with me through it all. In the mountain, in the valley, he's with me. He's a good shepherd. And the other thing is just still talking about remembering that these two will pass. The Bible says that in this world you'll have many troubles, but then the consolation is that we have overcome the world. So what that means is that even if you feel like this is the worst that could happen, there is nothing new under the sun. And in life we will go through challenges, right? But you can rest in the fact that God is in control and he's not going to leave you. He's not going to forsake you. He's going to be there for you, and he promised that. And this will pass. It will pass. I remember when I started doing my MBA, and it was really challenging at the time because when I started, I could not afford it. Like at some point I had to defer because it was too expensive for me. And I remember feeling like, oh, I will never be able to finish this. I would never be able to get this MBA certification. But then God saw me through it, and now it's done. It's done. And now I'm facing new challenges. But then when I cast my mind back to how God took me through that whole MBA process, I know that with the new challenges that are coming up in my life, he's going to see me through that. So that strengthens me. So I choose to be grateful for that, right? And then finally, another way to develop gratitude in your life is to set a gratitude alarm clock. So I find that this works in my life because I feel like if I don't have any structure in my life is just going to be like upside down and I'm just not going to know what I'm doing. So I like to have some kind of structure in my life. It doesn't mean that I always abide by that structure, but okay, it works. Yeah, so if having an alarm clock reminds you, so you can set an alarm clock to say, oh, 3 o'clock every day is I spend 1 minute just counting my blessings. So I just spend 1 minute, looking for something to be grateful for. It helps. Some people would say have a gratitude journal. I like to journal, but I know that not everyone enjoys journaling. Not everyone wants to write stuff. So, just setting an alarm clock and just thinking of all the things that you're grateful for, or just speaking out the things that you're grateful for helps. Another tip as I bring this to a close is to say thank you. One of the ways that you can develop an attitude of gratitude is to say thank you, not just to God and or to yourself, but to other people around you. Just say thank you. Look for things that they are doing right and say, oh, I just like how you did that. Thank you. Or I just, I'm really proud of what you've done. Thank you. Thank you for who you are. Thank you for being a good friend. Thank you for being a good spouse. Just this also ties back to also focusing on others. When you do that, it creates a positive feeling in you, because because you're pouring into other people, right? And when you pour into other people, it makes you feel good, right? So yeah, do that. And yeah, that's it. That's all I wanted to come on here to share. I can't believe I've spent almost 30 minutes. That went by really quickly. But yeah, so I hope you found these tips really helpful. And if you know anyone that might find this useful and insightful as well, please do well to share this with them. And I'll see you again in my next video. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. It means a lot to me. Thank you, and